Okay, I think we're ready to go here. Top of the hour. Hello, everyone. For those of you who are tying in right on time, and welcome to my home. And thank you for joining in on the conversation that we're going to have tonight. I hope amidst everything that's going on with the coronavirus that you, your family, your friends are all safe and dealing as best as can be expected with everything that we're all going through. Things seem to be changing, not just every day, but literally every hour. So our thoughts are with everybody. As you look here, I've got a fairly streamlined setup, or so it seems. For those of you who are in our HMR Diet Community Facebook page, you may have seen in our promotion what's really going on down here. I'm in my family room in my basement, and I got a lot of bells and whistles happening here that you can't see. So hopefully it's all going to work out to the as I'm hoping it will. If you hear dogs barking, I'm going to ask you to please just ignore them. If you hear kids screaming, I can promise you I'll ignore them. Though I do think our sympathies have to go out to a young 14-year-old boy who has to go a whole hour without having dad at his beck and call to approve his latest app request. I mean, that's a tough row to hoe. So I think we can all appreciate how challenging that is. Anyway, let's get into it. I'm just going to do a quick double check. I'm looking for the live stream here, and I've got a number of things happening. I've got my computer. I have the iPad that is streaming. And, I see comments there. Wow, I'm getting a lot of hellos there. Oh, Jennifer and Shane. Shane, my Facebook buddy, thank you for joining me here. And another Jennifer. Well, I'm going to have to probably be... There we go. Now I've got it. I've got it on the second iPad here. Thank you. Just getting things in order. Jen Barker, Laurie Cox, awesome. Thank you for joining me here. Really appreciate it. This is going to be a real team effort, I promise you. What are we doing? What is the point of these weekly support Facebook Lives that we're going to be doing during this time? Obviously, this is a time of change, and we want to provide as much support as possible during a time when, let's face it, I don't know who you would have to be to not be out of your routine, or I should say routines, your healthy habit routines. When things change like this, everything can go out the window. So at bottom, what we really want to do is protect your routines. And that might mean strengthening them if you've already got some things in place, and I want to hear about that today. Or it might mean bringing back routines that have been forced out of your schedule amidst all of the craziness. I propose another idea as well in terms of routines. This is going to be a real back and forth. You're going to hear a lot of ideas from those of you who are participating. I'm going to have some coaching ideas for you. This might be an opportunity for you to put a concerted effort into looking at things that you could take on that would have you pushing out of your comfort zone, sampling things that you might not otherwise sample because you're here in this conversation. And you sample different things, you discover other things that can become part of your routines or new routines entirely. The whole idea here is getting that foundation of routines as big and as robust as possible. So let's make that happen here. Now, let me just say up front, I should say this a few times tonight. If you are involved in coaching now already with HMR in some way, shape, or form, maybe you're in the clinic program, you typically attend classes, or you're in our phone program and you're involved in a coaching structure, while this is a real additional support opportunity, I'd ask you to not look at this as your attendance for the week for reasons that I'm sure you're aware of. We're really just trying to foster an even greater sense of community during a time when it's so easy to feel isolated, to feel discouraged, resigned, and let's be honest, at times even scared. That is really the nature of the events that are unfolding around us. So let me say hi to a few people here. I've already said hi to several of you. Alicia, hello, thank you. Jesse, great to have you here. Candy, Kathy Jones, White, Karen Galley. Renee, hello Renee, nice to see that you're joining me here, fantastic. Mary, Sandy, always good to have a fellow health coach on the line. I know Nancy is also another health coach on the line. And all right, there we go for now. So let's hope we can get even more people tying in here, certainly live. So I put a little thought into this. I want to have this be the most productive, what did they say in the promotion for this? 30 to 60 minutes. That really tells you they haven't quite evolved this into a fine-tuned mechanism here. It could be 30 minutes, it could be 60 minutes. How are we going to get the most out of this time here? I think there's two things. The first is the technology. I already mentioned I've got the computer going, I've got the 2 different iPads, I'm broadcasting here, I'm going to be using my phone, maybe even tying someone in on the phone. And I'll be honest with you, yesterday we did a trial run and it was a gong show. We couldn't get everything going, and we were using the Facebook feed, and I couldn't see the comment. It just was, it was actually a little bit terrifying, to be honest. But it all seems to be working right now. So the tech is in place. Let's hope that continues to be the case. If it's not, please be patient. Secondly, what else? What other element is going to have this be the most productive 30 to 60 minutes that you can have here for your time? That other element is you. You. I'd like to think that this is going to be a little bit different than some of our other Facebook Lives, with the interview that I did with my buddy Shane being a little bit different. But I have to say, many of our health coaches have done these Facebook Lives, and we sort of describe it as being shot out of a cannon. You're just going, and you have some content that you want to cover, and you want to engage people who are interacting with you. But then the next thing you know, it's over. It's just boom. It happens, and that's it. And you're almost like, what just happened? So I'd like to maybe try to change the vibe a little bit here. I'd like to have you, for those of you who are familiar with what it's like to be in an HMR class, I'd like to try to take as many of the more effective and important elements of an HMR class or coaching session and try to replicate them here as much as possible. But the problem is that you're not in front of me and we can't have a seamless dialogue. But I can see your posts. So here are a couple of thoughts that I would propose. Maybe you can take this on. The more you participate here, the better. And the longer you participate, the better. I know it's not uncommon for people to sort of tap into a video, even a live one, and then just get distracted and they're off to the races doing something else. Commit to it. You might even want to look at Thursday nights at 7 o'clock Eastern Time. And this is your official support event and an opportunity to interact with the community. And we have more people joining us here. Denise, hello Denise, Steve, Candy, great to see everyone. Try to participate in a way that might be a little bit more intentional than perhaps the more casual viewing of a Facebook Live event. Hi Rick, et cetera, love that you're all here. But we wanted to have this to be as substantive and useful and as effective as possible for everybody. So to support that, what we did, I did it here in the description, we did it in the promotional posts, we provided some thought starters for you. We wanted to, and we're going to do this every week, so if you didn't see them this time, that's fine. But we wanted to sort of have you have a chance to sit with what we're going to cover here a bit. And you might even prepare your responses ahead of time. Type them and just post them in if you want them to be a bit longer. I know it's hard to sort of attend the session, pay attention, and also type something that's more than just a sentence or two. But there might be something to be gained by looking at those thought starters each week and really thinking about, if I was in a group, a live group, and I was asked that question, what would I say? Like, how would I bring my experience about this whole work? Weight management, health management, lifestyle change, staying on track amidst the crisis. What would I say in a group? And try to bring that into your posts as much as possible. I know it's a big ask, but you only get what you ask for. So I thought that I would throw that out there. Another thing that I would suggest to maybe bring to this whole experience, and we'll evolve it as it goes. There may be things that you think work and things that don't. We want that feedback, and we'll meet you where you're at on this. Use the information you're hearing here to refine and maybe improve your approach for this coming week. All right? Again, you're going to hear ideas. You're going to hear strategies. You might have some insights from the conversation. Take the time to document them. Write them down. especially now with so much craziness. It's impossible to keep everything in our heads. Just watching the news makes you want to shut down and not think. So go to that extra level of sort of taking some notes and, again, being intentional with how you're participating here. I would ask as much as possible, this is the hardest thing I'm asking, is try not to multitask. I know it's easy to, the email and gee, a text just popped up, but try as much as possible to not multitask and show up next week. So those are my guidelines. A little bit during the course of this, I will repeat some of those guidelines. Now, I'm looking on my screen and I'm seeing a frozen screen. So I'm hoping that, let me see if there has been a post from anyone and that we are frozen. Maybe if you saw this ahead of time, great. If not, think about this right now. I'm going to ask you to think about it several times right now. What is a reason why you might want to keep working on your weight and your health during this time? So really think about it. Take your time and think about it. Again, I'm going to pause a little bit more than I would on a standard Facebook Live to help you to engage with the content. And as you're thinking about that, I would just I'll put a few thoughts in your mind here. Obviously, every one of us is dealing with a lot of different priorities right now. Lots of priorities. Where do you fit in that? Are you in the top 5 right now? And when I say you, I mean your weight. Staying on track with your weight and what that means. Are you in the process of losing weight right now? Is there a reason for you to not interrupt that weight loss that you're experiencing? I see that one of my team members has said, please be patient with our pauses. I am assuming that the video is jumping a little bit or pausing. Hopefully I'm back here. I'm just going to have to keep proceeding unless I get guidance to do something different. So why is it important for you to keep working on your weight and on your health and on making healthy lifestyle choices during this time? What is a reason that you have? I can imagine that amidst all of this other important events that are happening, that it could even feel a little bit selfish saying, well, I know everything is, falling apart around us, but I really need to continue to work on my weight loss or my weight management, or gee, I really need to get my physical activity in. Great, Jesse. Thank you so much. I just see that you said I'm back, so that's great. So who's got a reason out there? Who has a real motivation for wanting to not let the baby go out with the bathwater? Why keep working on your weight and health during this time? Okay, Terry, thank you for posting. Appreciate that. By the way, I want to make sure you can see the screen. Eating healthy and exercising will keep my immune system strong. That is a really good point, and one that we're hearing more of. If you have complications already health-wise, immune-wise, or you're dealing with other complications, comorbid conditions, it doesn't help if you're exposed to this virus. Hopefully I will avoid getting sick during this time. Thank you, Terry. That's a really strong reason to want to take care of yourself here. Okay, Mary, I need to lose weight to feel good about myself again. I mean, really, right? Isn't there so much to not feel good about? How about taking the reins on your lifestyle, your weight management, and your health management, because they're linked. And feeling like you're being responsible and like taking care of business in that area. Love that, Mary. Really, really good. Bob, I want to stay off insulin. I mean, there's no more to say there. That reason is a profoundly important one. Just noticing here, Julie, did anyone else lose sound? I'm hoping that I'm back on. Keep giving me feedback, guys, if my sound is well, I'll assume I'm on, unless you told me I'm not. Here we go. It's easier to stay on track with eating when we are quarantined. Brenda, isn't that an interesting observation? I've noticed that as well. And early on here, I've noticed that. We've heard that from several people as well. Just goes to show you when you're out and about in today's society how unsupportive our food culture is. It's really hard to stay on track. Michelle, loss almost 30, cannot go. You might want to finish that thought. Help Jennifer, help things to keep going in the right direction and stay healthy. Yes, of course. Karen, I'm a phase 2 client, I assume, participant, and I have just had a total change in my life. I am now retired and my routine has changed dramatically. I want to keep the weight off, trying to get into that new routine. Well, I must have said that word routine 4 or 5 times when I started. Karen, I weren't sure if you were here, but at bottom, really, that's what we're doing here with this extra support structure, which is getting back routines that have worked, that may have fallen out, strengthening routines you're currently practicing, and developing new ones to get that richer, more textured baseline of skill development so that you can really handle whatever challenges come at you. The more skills, the more routines, the more healthy habits you can develop, the better. So I really like you reinforcing that point. Erin, thank you. Another close colleague. I cannot control everything. Certainly not out there, but I can control what I do each day. It feels good to exercise for health, physical and mental, with all of us at home. No indictment about your family there, Erin. We get it. Togetherness is nice, but I think we all have already started to experience a higher level of togetherness than maybe we're used to. All right. Shane, always going to represent your comments here. This is one of the few things we can control right now. You got it. Having at least one normal thing can help with other stress issues. Isn't that the case? Isn't that totally true? If you think about why you may have joined HMR in the first place, there were stressors related to your weight or your health or the lifestyle choices you were making. Stressors that at the time occurred like problems. Stresses and problems and stressors. And now, so that's when you're not working on your weight. That's why many of you joined HMR. But now we've got all of these stressors and problems that are occurring out there culturally. The last thing you want to do, I'm just sort of expanding on what you said, Shane, is take those I'm not working on my weight and I don't feel good about it stressors and adding it on top of the immense stress and pressure that we're all under here with this virus. There's only so much the system can take, pressure and stress-wise. So again, it's just more of the same. It makes a lot of sense to take care of this area of our lives. A couple others here. I'm finding that this is the perfect time. This is Jennifer. To keep working on my weight and health during this time. Isn't that funny? It's the perfect time right now since we're stuck at home, and it's easier. It's become easier not to distract myself. Well, isn't that wonderful? You can imagine, Jennifer and everyone, how many people are using this, what's happening culturally right now, all of the changes, all the upheaval, to actually draw the opposite conclusion. To actually say, I'm not going to keep up healthy routines or healthy choices because, again, everything is going downhill around us, and what's the point? It's kind of the opposite of what all of you are saying here. Let me read a couple other quick ones and then we'll move on. Mary, I'm trying to get ready for knee replacement surgery. This gives me focused time to work on that. Beautiful, wonderful, wonderful, wonderful. What medicine can do now with surgeries like that, I hear it all the time. It's just going to be a wonderful, more active future once that surgery is done, Mary. But losing that weight is the most important thing you can do. Fantastic. Lynn, I just got 40 pounds lost, and a lot had to do with physical activity, going to the gym daily, and now it's a challenge to get in the same level of activity. Well, I'm going to ask you to pause that, because we're going to talk to folks in just a few minutes when we get to part 3 of our discussion here and talk about what successful strategies are people practicing right now. And I'll make sure we hit on the physical activity for you, Mary, there. Okay, great, excellent. Michelle, this is the best program, period. Write a little bit more on that. We like to hear those types of comments. Julie, speaking of stress, I'm definitely a stress eater, and working in the healthcare field right now is very stressful. Oh, I can only imagine. And I am so glad that I'm sticking with HMR and controlling myself. Well, I am glad too. Again, one more angle on this. Amidst all of the craziness, and yours sounds like a particular form of sort of a scary situation, just an immense commitment on your part to say, I'm keeping myself on track, I'm keeping myself a priority. Casey had to weigh in at home tonight. Classes canceled. Wow, hit 125 tonight. Boy, you're hammering it. Fantastic. Can't wait to get my pen. I'm a Sherwood Award pen. Don't want to gain, let me just see here, gain it back. Really, really good. Congratulations, Casey. Really good. Make a point to be here with us each week. And I'll just reinforce what I had said at the outset while we're providing this support every week. This is really more about connecting as a community and brainstorming strategies and giving you a shot in the arm on the Thursday night. But this does not replace your regular attendance either in the clinic program or in the phone-based program. That's just a general perspective that I'd ask all of you to appreciate. You want to really stay committed to that attendance commitment. That's your primary accountability with your primary coach, and look at this more as an adjunct, if you will. Okay, yeah, very good, Mary, acknowledging Casey. Great work, fantastic. Okay, so let's look at, wow, we're 20 minutes in. I want to repeat a couple of things. First of all, welcome to anyone who's joined and missed sort of my upfront protracted dialogue. I wanted to just put out there the idea that we can work together here and look at these events, these weekly support events, as a partnership, a real partnership. You know, there's a way to sit and watch this and be somewhat passive. And, you know, if that's your thing, that's fine. But I'd offer you that there's a way to get more out of this, and that is to be more of an active participant as you're interacting with me and interacting with the community here. So just real quick, what do I mean by that? Post. Bring your experiences. When I ask probing questions, and we're going to preview those probing questions in our promotion for each event, you'll know what the thought starters are. This is thought starter 1. Prepare your comments. Maybe even type them ahead of time. Post them so that we can have, well, we're already having wonderful dialogue here, but we want to really continue to make it rich and vibrant. So that's number 1. Number 2, commit to being on the whole event. A lot of people are in and out. How about devoting the entire time to it? And then the other thing is, as you're hearing ideas, and we're about to move into ideas and strategies, I would really ask you to not make the mistake of trying to keep it, whatever you think is valuable, in your head. Whether it's a recipe or a strategy for getting in the exercise when your gym is closed, you name it, a timing strategy with your HMR foods and fruits and vegetables, write it down, dialogue it, catalog it if you could. Hearing it is one level of sort of internalizing it in your brain, but when you write it, that's a whole nother part of your brain that makes that idea that much more of a reality. It makes you much more likely to be able to act on it. Not the least of which is, will you remember everything that you thought was a good idea? So I won't belabor it, but please write it down. And again, the posting is yet another way to sort of make good intentions more of a reality, writing them in the public accountability of posting it among your peers here. That's another very powerful construct for that. Okay, let's keep going here. A couple of quick ones. Barbara, I am a flight attendant. Hotels, restaurants are closing. Being on an HMR is great. All I need is a microwave. Yeah, a microwave, and I might throw in one other very important appliance. Anyone care to post what I'm talking about there? There's the microwave, and then there's the, you tell me, and see who's the first one to get it. Okay, great. All right, we're going to now transition off of this first thought starter. There are good reasons. There are excellent reasons to keep working on this. I asked this question in the weight loss group I do on Tuesdays, And after the class, it was a fabulous discussion. People were all on board, all heading in the right direction on this. Afterwards, one of the people I work with, Chris, sent me a picture that I want to show you. And this picture has a very empowering quote on it. But it's interesting, several of you already touched on sort of the nucleus of the inspiration of this quote. So I'm going to show this to you in a minute, but I'll just say one other thing. Chris, I don't know if you're out there watching. Yeah, thank you for giving me permission to use your name and to post your quote, and I really appreciated you sending that to me. I will just say Chris is also from Massachusetts, so he's my fellow Massachusetts resident, and amidst all the bad news, I just want to say that for those of you who are also Massachusetts residents, just a moment of silence if we could. Chris and I have shared that it's been very difficult watching our dear quarterback leave, but on to greener pastures, I guess. I don't know if they could be much greener than they were here. But anyway, insider joke for Massachusetts people. We'll miss you, Tom. Okay, a fork. Nope, I was thinking the microwave is one thing. You've got the HMR entrees. It's a quick way to do vegetables as well. I was thinking, and the multigrain cereal. I was thinking of the blender. The blender is my favorite appliance because I just love the shakes. And sure, you can make the shakes in lots of different ways. I'll show you a picture in a little while of a wonderful cocoa I made actually today. But you can't replace the volume that you get when you put an HMR shake in a blender, add that non-caloric liquid, probably water, but it could be anything that it doesn't have calories. You add the ice and you blend it for a while. It just gives you so much food for the calories. By the directions, when you blend an HMR shake, you get 11 or 12 weight ounces, 2/3 of a pound of food for only 100, anywhere from 110 to 120 calories. Of course, one of our shakes will give you even more food than that for a few more calories. But the blender. So the microwave and the blender. I really like this sentiment of being at home actually has made it easier to stay on track. That's just fantastic. Lori, I use a shaker cup, and I don't have a blend. If I don't have a blender at work, and it works really well. I agree. I like to do the shaker as well. I like to do the 70+ chocolate with a couple of ice cubes to bring the temperature down. They melt very quickly. It's like a very, very thick chocolate milk. Love it. And each 70+ shake mix has 15 grams of protein. If I do 2 of those, that's 30 grams of protein. Really filling, thick chocolate milk. Gives me 3, sometimes even 4 hours of not being tempted to think of other food on just that 220 calories. That protein helps. Okay, let's look. Travel blenders are great. Thank you, Sharon. I love it. HMR health coach replying to Casey, we got a winner. I didn't see Casey's post, but I'm assuming she said blender. Oh, there it is. Ding, ding, ding. Got it. Kate Ehrman, mourning the loss of the goat. Thank you. I needed at least one person to share our loss there. Thank you, Kate. Okay, love my USB blender. That's Jen Barker. Fantastic. Lisa, volume is key to stop the out-of-the-box stress binging. Are you getting paid by HMR to write that? Because that's pretty much, that is the magic right there. Volume. Even if you don't consider yourself a volume eater, people like to eat. And people like to eat until they're full. And sometimes when you're full, you want to still eat a little bit more, just in case. So if you're hungry, and the low volume leads to hunger, all bets are off around any temptations that you're facing. So thank you for making that point. It's all about the volume game. The shakes, it's automatic. The entrees, that's a half a pound of food, but you add vegetables with it. And boy, you can eat an awful lot of food for very, very few calories. And voila, you eat a lot of food, you're not hungry. Next thing you know, you aren't hearing those temptations talking to you and gaining control over your next food decision. Okay, Julie, my Ninja blender is also a food processor. I love making pudding and ice cream. What a treat at night. Yeah, so you mentioned the ice cream. The food processor, it's very different than the blender. It creates a different consistency. You can use it with just the sugar-free Jell-O instant puddings, sugar-free, fat-free Jell-O instant puddings for all sorts of flavors, and that makes HMR ice cream. Or you can cut up the fruit and really make almost like snow with the frozen fruit, much like you would with an ice cube, and make a different kind of ice cream. If you're listening and you haven't tried the HMR ice cream, it is the single most filling way to make an HMR shake for the fewest calories. So think about that. It's probably the most filling way to make the shake, and yet it has the fewest calories. Very high volume, very few calories. Again, that's the game that we're playing here. All right, we're going to continue. We're going to shift gears now. Welcome to those of you who may be just joining us here. We started with a discussion about the reasons why, for you personally, it made sense to stay on track with your weight management, with your health, with your healthy lifestyle choices. And some of those answers were great. If you weren't here for that conversation, please take the time maybe after to look through some of the reasons that people gave. And now here is Chris's wonderful picture that he gave me. When you can't control what's happening, challenge yourself to control the way that you respond to what's happening. That's where the power is, how you respond to what's happening. Again, several of you shared similar sentiments in your comments here. I may not be able to control what's happening out there, but I can control what goes in my mouth, and I can control when and how much I move my body, burning calories. So, it's a basic fact of the human condition. Nobody likes to feel out of control. There's nobody who ever said, I've lost control, it's great. It's just not the way it works. We like to feel like we have control, and when we don't, there's something about it that just feels wrong. So this whole coronavirus thing is imposing a feeling of a loss of control. And again, just coming back to this quote and everything that all of you shared, this is an area, your lifestyle habits, and with some creativity, even amidst being homebound or whatever other particular challenges you're facing, this is something that people can control more than they give themselves credit for. And I think that based on all of these comments, we're all very like-minded on that point. So Chris, thank you for that quote, and I'll use that to pivot off our first thought starter and transition into talking about part 2 here. Let's get into the specifics. What successful strategies have you been practicing amidst the upheaval? I took the time to go through HMR program, our Facebook page, and then also the Diet Community page, and I saw so many successful strategies that people are engaging in. This is another one of those moments right now where I would ask you to bring some of your experience to the discussion right now. What are you practicing? Are there recipes that just are really working for you that would be helpful for other people to hear? Are there combinations of foods that are working for you? Or is it more of a timing strategy? Sometimes when you eat the HMR foods, with or without the fruits and vegetables, is more important than what HMR foods you ate, because that could be a time when you're more at risk to partake of whatever temptations are calling your name. So take a minute and post a comment. What is at least one strategy, it could be food related or it could be exercise related, that you're practicing that is supporting you to stay on track with your ultimate goal, which is to, once again, be in control of your weight and your health during this challenging time. And as we're going on here, I will give you a couple of additional ideas to think about. How about high days? Are any of you practicing high days? For me personally, that's my number one go-to goal-setting strategy. Something about picking one day and one behavior, or maybe 2 meal replacements and HMR foods, and say, this is the day I'm going to go for it. It's just easy to get your head around that day. It's easy to remember it throughout the day. And there's something about having it be time limited, just one day, that allows you to sort of push outside that comfort zone, into that stretch zone, in a way that's even more intentional than you would if you were just saying, well, I'm just going to have a better week. Well, that sounds good, but it's not quite as isolated and precise as the high day plan. So that's just one strategy that I really rely on. I look at my numbers each week, keep records just as all of you do, and I say, which area do I really need to push on? And I pick a day for a high day. Okay, so here are some strategies here. Thank you, Shane. Appreciate it, bud. Meal prep. Yep. Cooking vegetables ahead of time. Boy, that makes it easy, doesn't it? Using different vegetables to add volume, like red cabbage. Really good. By the way, Shane, I saw when I was going through all the posts, I saw that you scored a bunch of vegetables at the grocery store, cruciferous ones no less. I think I saw broccoli and cauliflower. Excellent job. I was not as lucky. I went to the grocery store and there seemed to be a lot of spinach. So that's fine. I love spinach. I've made a commitment to try to eat spinach every day based on some of the really compelling research about the cognitive benefits of leafy greens. But yeah, kudos to you for loading up on the cruciferous vegetables. That's excellent. Let me see some other things. Okay, Jennifer, setting daily goals. Yeah, like really, right? Isn't it so much better to have a number attached to that day versus saying, well, I'm just going to have a better week? I mean, what does that mean? I'm just going to stay on track. What does that mean? So a number and having it daily, that's a really important thing. Glad you offered that. Mary, another solid idea here. Eating before I'm starving. Also walking as far and as long as I can with my dogs when my sciatica allows. Good job. Way to push on that. But around the eating before you're starving, isn't that a interesting strategy? The idea of preempting hunger. People don't do that. People walk through life backwards about when they're going to eat. They have no idea what's going to be for lunch or for dinner, the average person, let alone the fact that they're going to be eating as the temptations just sort of get thrown at them as they walk backwards through the gap, through the unsupportive environment that we all live in. So the idea of being intentional and preempting the hunger, planning it, eating it ahead of time, it just puts your hands on the control switches. It has you taking the reins of when and what you're going to eat. Because if you haven't done that and you're starving, Mary, you can finish my thought there. Once you're starving, that rational person that we all like to think that we are just seems to disappear, and then it's cookie time or whatever floats your boat. Okay, let's just say, Jen, having my yes foods handy, it's so much easier to say yes than to say no. So I keep HMR muffins on hand. Okay, excellent. Okay, Arlene, you've asked something here. Is it bad if I comment that it's been difficult? Not at all. That's the point. We're here to provide support. We've got a lot of successful strategies here, but what you want to do, and I'm going to read what you've written here, Arlene, you want to see if the group can give you some ideas that might not be readily available to you as you're dealing with whatever challenges here, and see if you can put those into practice, into action this week. So it's high stress at work right now, you say, Arlene. I've really been trying to keep everything close by and on hand, but when it's super stressful, I tend to go off track. Boy, I get that. So applying just a few things that we've talked about, do you have the foods with you? So that was already a strategy that was offered. Sometimes it's easy to be constantly engaged with the food. It's okay to be eating frequently so that while that stress is happening, you have your, if I can quote, whoever just said it, my yes foods right there. I mean, sometimes the natural response to stress, it's a conditioned response, is I'm stressed, let me eat. Let me just grab what I have, and I can only imagine what's available to you in the office. So what's the next level of planning around having your yes foods with you? Do you need to get some Tupperware? Do you need to prepare the foods ahead of time, as Shane said? Have you tried the wide mouth thermos? That's such an incredible strategy. You long spoon, you're able to do the HMR chicken soup in there. You can do the chicken soup with an entree in it. You could add vegetables in there as well. Or you could do some other, depending on which phase of the program you're in, any healthy, low-calorie, high-volume meal that you want to keep warm and have right at the ready. I would also say if you're really getting swept away kind of quickly by unplanned temptations and stressors, Arlene, I would suggest the HMR 70 Plus, which makes a really quick pudding. Again, that was the one that I mentioned I make the cocoa with. It's just an awesome way to cut that urge down when you're having that urge to want to eat something that has been tempting you amidst all the stress. Okay, a couple of additional strategies here. Plan ahead and stick to it. More is better. Using lots of canned tomatoes to add into the meals. Using good blended spices. I love tomatoes, so I really like that one. But I like that for another reason besides the fact that I love tomatoes. They're so low calorie. I don't know, Julie, if you've looked at the calories on the side of the can, it's almost hard to believe that there are so few calories in the various canned tomato products. HMR Health Coach, you are not alone, Arlene. This is a welcome comment. Great, thank you. Plan your meals and keep moving. Okay, working on high days of fruits and vegetables to stay full. Good, Sue. Good. High days. Again, that's a really solid strategy. Making batch recipes to keep in the fridge for easy access. Again, have those yes foods right there. Okay, short breaks for physical activity. That's an interesting one. So I'm not sure. I'm going to come back to you, Arlene, but certainly this applies to everybody. There are so many opportunities where one could take a break, but those opportunities come and go because we discount the value of them. 5-minute break before meetings. A little leftover time during the lunch period at work or whatnot. There's something that happens, even if you go out for just 5 minutes, that can reinforce your commitment to make healthy food choices. So Arlene, I'm coming back to you. We had a few different food strategies there, most related to environmental control. But I would suggest if there's any way to just get up and move that body. When you move, you actually experience changes in brain chemistry that are wholly positive, even as little as 10 minutes or even as little as 5 minutes. So that can, in some ways, bolster your commitment, but actually strengthen your resolve in those moments as well. So I'm glad that someone, I think the exclamation point helped me out there. Thank you. Karen Adams, I learned to keep celery and carrots in a bag in my pocket. Boy, right there and available. Lisa, keep your environment clean. Have to have serious conversations with others in your house that are cooped up with you. Yeah, that's true. Okay, video froze. Thank you, Karen, for letting me know that. It seems to be back on. Let me just see here. Arlene, I bring all my HMR foods with me to work, but since I just moved to phase 2, I'm just not in control. I'm here, as you say, I need the support, so thank you for your help. I get it. I really get it, Arlene. The idea of phase 1, there's something about it. It's such a clearly defined box. And here you are in phase 2, where the goal is to start to gradually bring in other foods. One of the things that people can make as a mistake is they let go of what worked so well in phase 1 too quickly. There's an awful lot in phase 1 that helped you to tightly manage your calories so that you lost weight consistently, that you can bring into phase 2, because the name of the game is still tightly managing your calories, even though you've got an expanded list of foods that are available to you. So what phase 1 strategies are your best go-to, and are you hitting them as hard as they could be? Doesn't mean you need to be in the box in phase 2. That's not the point. The whole goal of phase 2 is to add to your healthy food choices, but don't give up on the phase 1 strategies that worked so well. What works to lose weight also works to manage weight. So that's just one other perspective. Not sure if you've had that presented to you, but it's a useful one to have. Okay. Jesse, thank you for letting me know. The video is not frozen for everyone. It seems to be random. So if you're experiencing the video freezing, it may be a matter of just the strength of your Wi-Fi from wherever you are. Okay, I want to make sure that we cover what was brought up earlier. We've had a lot of food strategies presented here, and I appreciate that very much. Actually, I'll just share one more picture here. I'll share a couple quick ones here. So it's funny how foods can fall off the radar screen. if you ask me, do I like bananas, I would say yes, I love bananas, but I realized I haven't really been buying bananas recently. So in the last couple of weeks, I've just started buying bananas, and they're always around, and I forgot how much I loved bananas. They're just so easy and so supportive of me staying on track. So as part of our meal replacement challenge, one of the challenges was to try something new and different. And here I am after 30 years with HMR, still coming up with a combination that I loved, PB2 with the banana and the 120 vanilla, that I'd never really tried before. At least I don't remember trying it. So that was on Monday. Here was Tuesday, where I did the multigrain cereal. And I do have to say, I don't know if Carol is here on this live event, but she had a comment on the in the diet community page where she said, I could eat the multigrain cereal every day. She might have even said every meal. I'm not sure, but I feel sort of the same way. But one of the things that I observed, again, the insights still come after even 30 years of doing this, is I'll have frozen strawberries in my shakes. I love fresh strawberries on my multigrain cereal, as you can see here. But I don't really eat strawberries other than that. I don't really sit down and just snack on strawberries. I just don't. So the shakes and the cereal actually help me, support me to get the strawberries in. And I'm wondering if others have that experience where using the HMR foods actually supports your commitment to eat a variety of fruits and vegetables with the entrees. By the way, there's Wolfgang in the background. He is my little Toto. He looks exactly like Toto from The Wizard of Oz. He seems to be enjoying the added togetherness in the house. And then here was my Coco. This was today that I mentioned to you. There's Han Solo, a big cup, very big cup. And you'll also note that's a double 70 plus chocolate. I think it makes a fantastic cocoa. I even add an equal in there as well. And it's just such a treat while I'm homebound. But look at Wolfgang in the background there. He's actually rolling on his back. I'm not saying that I let him lick a little bit of the 70 plus, but I'm not saying that I don't do that either. But I don't want to say that too loud because people upstairs don't need to know that I let him have a little bit of chocolate like that. Okay, moving on. Let's get back to that physical activity question. So we're talking about strategies that you've been engaging in. And someone said that the gym is closed and really is kind of at a loss. So here's the question for all of you, if you could ponder this for a moment. What advice would you give? No one's gym is open, but we have people who are exercising. So as you're thinking about that, what advice would you give around getting your exercise in even when your routine is gone, the gym routine? I will say that in our neighborhood, it's really something. Have you guys seen this? You've gone out walking in your neighborhood and people are out. I mean, they're not getting closer than 6 to 8 feet, but people are out. And families are out. It really is, it's kind of sad that it's so odd to see that. But we've been going out for a family walk, almost the whole family every time, but not every time. But at least my wife and I, and getting out in the neighborhood and just seeing people, just sort of taking it in, getting the exercise in, walking, and not walking like we got to get somewhere. It's almost like walking and decompressing, which is, so that would be my first thing that I would say, that walking outside is something, if that's hasn't been your thing, dress up, dress appropriate, and get out and into the nature as much as possible. Okay, let's hear a couple of ideas here. Thank you. Wolfgang is Rick's dog. He's a cutie. Yeah, he sure is. Here we go. My cat licks my entree containers when I'm done. Well, all right. I love it. YouTube is a great go-to for exercise. So there, you can find anything on YouTube. So if you're sitting here saying, gee, I don't know what to do. Well, what do you like to do? And you could probably find someone giving you a tutorial on that exercise. I don't know if did anyone see that really funny video that was posted in the diet community of the gentleman who just did his own treadmill in the kitchen with the dishwashing liquid? I won't say any more. I wish I could show it here. You need to see that. It's a fantastic video. It's raining here. This is Arlene. Thank you, Arlene. So I've been trying in-home yoga. All right. Excellent. Let's just look for a couple. I started a video yoga course. Yeah, the one I hear a lot of is Yoga with Adriene. If that's something that interests you, a lot of people speak very highly about that. Um, I mowed my blank already for extra PA. I know what that is. That's a lawn. That's probably a good deal of exercise for you, Shane. That's great. Yeah, again, walk outside. Invest in a recumbent stationary bike. Walk up and down the stairs for breaks. You know, another thing that people can do, do you talk on the phone? People tend to sit when they talk on the phone. Every time you make a phone call, get up and just pace. Your body doesn't know the difference if you're on a treadmill pacing or if you're outside pacing or if you're just going up and down your hallway in your house and on the phone pacing. You're still burning calories, and that's supporting calorie management. And if you're in weight loss, it's supporting that. And if you're in weight management, it's certainly supporting that. Oh, look at this. Jen Barker, your stationary bike will be delivered on Saturday, so you really pulled the lever on that. You bought one. Well, way to take charge. No excuses for you now. You better be careful what you share here. If you're working with a coach, that PA better not drop if you're going to have your bike right there all the time. Sue, thank you. I heard today that Peloton is offering free 90-day workouts. So I guess you'd have to have are those related to the Peloton bike? I'm not sure. Do you need the bike for that? Here's the yoga channel that Rick was talking about. Thank you, Kristen, for posting that. My hubby was lifting cases of water and using gallons of jugs of water for weights. Fantastic. Well, jugs of water are one thing, but it's always good to do a little resistance training. Even if you can do it with canned vegetables or canned fruit, canned anything, really, and just go slow. There's a whole movement out there of super slow training. You don't need a lot of heavy weight if you go slow, and it presents a very steady, consistent stress on the muscle, and you'll reach fatigue. So that's just something to consider. Oh, I like this in response to the dog licking the entree containers. Thank you, Lynn, for fessing up that you actually lick yours yourself. That's great. Since the kids are home, we have been doing videos together, playing kickball and hide and seek tag. Yeah, that's great. We have a rainy day here in Boston, but I have a bocce set that I had pulled out from the old boiler room, and then I also have a croquet set. I'm going to be setting both of those things up on the lawn just to get everyone out and have some fun with that. Okay, so I think we're going to continue here. We're nearing the top of the hour. We had one more thought starter that I wanted to cover. And just to sort of recap, we started with the notion of why keep focusing on your weight, your health, and your healthy lifestyle during challenging times like this. And basically, we hit that one all out of the ballpark. The reasons to stay on track are far more compelling than the reasons to give yourself a break. And now here, we've just reviewed a number of different strategies around the food and around the exercise. So let me just stop for a minute. If you heard anything that you aren't doing, that you might benefit by taking on as a challenge, then should you do that? And if so, write it down. Commit to it. Before we finish, we'll spend a little bit of time with some planning and goal setting. And you might go all out and commit publicly here in this forum and come back next week to report on whatever you take on as a new behavior. So take a minute. Is there anything from what you've heard here that you want to bring into your week this next week? And as you're thinking about that, I'll move to our final thought starter, which was this one. What tempting 7s, 8s, 9s, and 10s have crept into your home? Now, I think this is a tough one to answer because it might hit very close to home. It's, well, I kind of like having those foods there. And let me just explain what we mean by 7s, 8s, 9s, and 10s. If you're new to the program, what we mean is we have a material. It's my favorite HMR material. It's called the HMR Calorie Guide. I realize it's too small to be able to see it here. Maybe the HMR program, someone can post it in the comments so that if people haven't seen it, they can pull it up on their computer at their leisure. Basically, all foods, food categories are presented on the HMR Calorie Guide, and they're denoted by the rows. So you have the meats, poultry, fish row. It goes all the way down to fruits, vegetables, and HMR foods. The further to the right the foods go, the more calories they have, the more they contribute to weight gain, the more they make weight management difficult. So you have numbers at the top, 1, 2, 3, all the way up to 10. And the 7s, 8s, 9s, and 10s are the highest calorie foods on the page in the red area. They contribute most to weight gain in America. They are the foods that are most tempting. They are the foods that people struggle with the most. They also happen to be the top source of calories in the American diet. Most people eat a disproportionate number of the 7s, 8s, 9s, and 10s, which is why so many people struggle with their weight. 7s, 8s, 9s, and 10s drive weight gain. So the question that we're asking here, and we can talk a lot more about this page in subsequent live events, what tempting 7s, 8s, 9s, and 10s have crept into your home? Again, kind of a confronting conversation. We got some people ready to give it up here. Fantastic. I love it. Thank you. Cheese, Nancy. Thanks for acknowledging that. Cheese, 100 calories per ounce. If you look on that calorie guide, it's way to the right. Cheese is a 7, 8, 9, or a 10. What else do we have? Chips, crackers, and ice cream, Arlene. Of course. Of course these have snuck into your home. Why? These are the most popular foods in America. The 7s, 8s, 9s, and 10s. It would be odd if these weren't sneaking into our homes. Karen, chips, very addicting. I agree. The sweet and the rich, that's one thing. I find those very tempting, but the salty and the savory, that really is a whole nother level of temptation for me. Jennifer, all of my son's food. I get it. Unfortunately, Terry really bringing the list here. Ice cream, chocolate, and cheese. We use them sparingly. Yep. It's very natural for these to come in. Homemade chocolate chip cookies as a family treat. Girl Scout cookies, chocolate, my hubby's chips, peanut butter, popcorn. Okay, so really a lot of different ones here. I'm going to just share with one that it was bought with the best of intentions here in my home. It was bought for me. Oh, usually people who know me, I always say Oreos are my kryptonite. It's really hard for me to stop eating Oreos. I have no memory of ever having eaten fewer than 4 or 5 Oreos. But how about these things? These are called mini Linzer tarts. And boy, have you ever seen these foods? I'm not sure what arcane chemistry went into these. But boy, oh boy, these have been very difficult to eat just one. Or the goal really is to not eat them at all. I mean, I can eat these, but I want to eat them on my terms, when I buy them, and I go out and get them, as opposed to looking for something healthy and boop, there they are. Next thing I know, I'm into them. So I'm going to actually ask, a lot of you mentioned different tempting foods, your version of what's been tempting you lately. I'm going to ask you for advice. I'm going to ask you to coach me. And I'm reaching out to HMR program to take the kid gloves off here. What should I do about these? I've had a couple of these. I don't need them. I don't need them in the house. So give me some advice. Give me some coaching. What should I do with this? And you can be straight with me. And then if you're struggling with any of the foods that you mentioned here, this long list that several of you were generous enough to offer, what should you do with them? Are you going to keep butting up against them? Are you eating more calories than you want or that you plan to do with this? What do you want to do with these tempting 7s, 8s, 9s, and 10s? We're going to be homebound for some time now. We're probably at the beginning of this. Is there a conversation to have with someone in the home? I already had my conversation, but I'm dealing with the residuals, the initial purchase here. So, okay, Casey, give it to me here. Throw them out. Great. Lisa, toss them. Lynn, throw them away now. You know what, Lynn? I'll be right back. I'm just gonna. Yeah, I'll do it right afterwards, okay? And I'll use my colleagues who are listening in here to follow up, because that accountability is going to need to be important for me to make sure I do that. Give them to someone else. Get them out of the house. Okay, so we'll put them on a neighbor's doorstep. Okay, so I've got a pretty singular message, some coaching from all of you, that if I would like to gain control around this, the best thing I can do is to remove them from the environment so that my environment isn't controlling me. I'm controlling the environment. And that's really, that was the essence of this question. What tempting 7s through 10s have crept into your home? So, HMR program just said, I'll check on you, Rick. Yeah, I suspect I know who that's going to be. In fact, yeah, there she is. I'm going to bet that that was Nancy. We've run out of time. I was going to see if I could get Nancy on the phone for part of this, but we'll do that next time. Nancy is my longest colleague that I've worked with over 30 years. She was my mentor when I first came to HMR. We work every day very closely together. And Nancy, I knew that you were gonna be the one to make sure that I do what I need to do with those tempting cookies. Okay, what I'd like to do is maybe ask you a final thing here before we finish. This week, we talked up front about the fact that largely we're trying to protect and preserve our healthy routines. Those routines may have taken a hit given current circumstances. What do you need to plan to do this week? Is there something different? Seems like a lot of success happening through the posts here, but what else is there to do? Because if you're not pushing against the gap, if you're not pushing on your health habits, then the environment just has them deteriorate over time. It's kind of like the tide. You stand in place, the tide is going to take you out. You constantly have to push against it to make to even just preserve your routines, let alone make progress. So what's a goal that you should be committing to this week? Does it relate to getting that exercise up higher than it's been? That would be a good goal, because not just for the calories, but also everything we talked about around the positive brain chemistry that extends from moving your body. Or is it more around the food? I mean, if your environment isn't helping you, or if you've just let your fruits and vegetables fall out, or your HMR foods have dropped off, that's really 1A. That's where you got to start, just because the calories without the fruits and vegetables and without the HMR foods can get so high so quickly, and the results on the scale can be so discouraging when that happens. So let me just read a couple of here. Karen, I've gotten away from logging my daily intake. I need to get back into it. Yes, you do. Record keeping is absolutely essential. We've tried to make it easy to do with the HMR app. So if you're not keeping records, that is probably the very first thing that I would focus on. And then also, pick a day to really go for it, preferably tomorrow. As an extension from having spent this time with all of us tonight, pick a behavior or two and plan a high day. Come out of this discussion and build some momentum right at the outset. There's nothing better than getting a strong start to the week. It changes how you feel about things, and then you're in a position of adding to success as opposed to constantly trying to pick up the pieces. So that would be excellent. Nancy, I'm focusing on being more mindful about my tracking, food, physical activity, and water intake. That's excellent, excellent, excellent. Laura, I like what you've said here. I know it isn't part of the program, but getting more sleep so I'm not extra hungry. I agree. Again, and we can sort of bring this into our sort of summary here. There's only so many things that you can control, and there's so many stressors out there. Taking control and managing your healthy lifestyle choices is a way to feel more in control, and sleep is an important part of it. The research now on this is so compelling. So a question for everyone is, I mean, there's a lot more time maybe being at home to watch Netflix or Amazon Prime or whatnot, but should you be more intentional about setting that time to go to bed and really sticking to it? It can only support you to feel better and to feel less stressed amidst everything going on. You add that to some of the what we've talked about here around continuing to engage in successful food choices and continuing the exercise, and you really have a nice prescription there for feeling more on top of things, more in control of the things that you can control. I kind of like how that's emerged as a theme of our discussion here. I will end with a quote from someone who I interviewed a couple of years ago, Stefan. I don't know, Stefan, if you're in hearing my voice, but you said this, and I always remembered it. And here it is. Every time you're faced with a choice, it's an opportunity to make a successful decision. So really think about that. Every time you're faced with a choice, and you will be faced with many of them around your food and around your exercise, it's an opportunity. It's a chance to make a successful decision right there in that moment for all the reasons that we talked about here and that you offered. So I think I'll end it on that. Good luck, everyone, with this next week. We will be here, same time, same place next Thursday night, 7 o'clock Eastern Time. I hope you can join, and I hope we can continue to have a vital and vibrant and helpful discussion as we did tonight. Thanks very much for joining us.